Hey, hope you enjoyed lesson 1. Let's hop into lesson 2.
So this is going to be a broad overview of all the things that you'll need before your first wedding job.
Yep.
And don't freak out if we don't go into a super lot of detail on each of these items because there are going to be more videos later. Specifically, we have a whole module that's going to be about gear and settings later on. So this is, again, a broad overview. Think of it as more of a checklist than like a detailed about each item.
Hey guys, I'm Chris and this is Ray.
We are Dallas-Fort Worth wedding photographers with over 8 years of experience in the industry, and we are passionate about educating and equipping other photographers in their craft and business.
Yeah, so one of the ways we are doing this is this series here on YouTube where we're going to teach you the foundational pillars that you need to make it as a wedding photographer.
All right, so let's get into it.
I had to get mine in first. All right, let's get started with the essential gear that you will be needing. Yep. So first off, you're going to need a camera body. And ideally, you're going to want that camera body to have dual recording opportunities. Because
Not ideally. That's non-negotiable.
It's non-negotiable. You're going to want dual recording because you always need to put your data on 2 separate sources. You are dealing with one-time only moments here. And to cover your butt, to say it the nicest way, you need dual recording.
Okay, so you're also going to want to make sure that you have backup equipment. So if you're going to want to make sure you have multiple camera bodies and multiple camera lenses and multiple flashes or whatever lighting source you're using in case something breaks or malfunctions and then you're just suddenly without gear. So you want to make sure you have backups. You're going to want to make sure you have a variety of lens focal lengths. And again, we're going to do another video later on detailing, getting more into that. But you're going to want to make sure that you have something that's wide, so that if you're in a tight room, you can see the whole room.
24 or 35.
And then something tight, so that if you can't get close to whatever you're trying to photograph, you have that closeness.
Like an 85 or maybe something a little more punchy.
Yeah. You're going to need lighting equipment because
You're going to need flashes.
Flashes or LEDs or... We'll get more.
I'm going to talk about that.
We're going to get we're going to get more into that later.
Stay in your lane, photographers. No.
Ideally, flashes are, I think, the best.
You're going to have a flash. You can't do a wedding without a flash. There's going to be some dark moments. You need a flash.
Yeah.
Computer and editing software. So you're going to need some sort of program that you can edit your photos on, and we will get into what programs are out there and what we use. And then some high-speed memory cards, just some good, decent memory cards.
You're going to want to make sure you're not buying dinky, cheap memory cards from the gas station or CVS.
It's, on some things, it's just easy to, or it's just better to, how's the phrase go? Buy once, cry later, what's that phrase?
I don't know.
In some cases, it's just easier to buy the good memory cards, cry about it then, but then be good down the road.
I think that's the exact phrase.
I don't think so. And do keep in mind that you will need double the memory cards for your wedding. So you will be recording on 2 memory cards at the same time. So you need 2 of those memory cards for one purpose. So it does get a little more expensive that way, but these are some of the things. I did have a question for you.
Okay.
For those, I'm just trying to field some questions before.
Okay.
That might be on people's mind.
Let's hear it.
All right. We're getting into photography. We don't have a lot of money. Do you have to have 2 camera bodies?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Okay.
Because what if you break your camera body?
Yep.
What if it stops working?
Yep.
You have to have it.
You heard it here first? No.
You have to have 2. And if you don't have a lot of money, you can rent. You don't have to buy it right off the bat. You can rent.
Yep.
Yeah. And your backup body honestly doesn't even have to be
you just gotta
have something.
You just gotta be able to shoot with something.
Something.
And your backup body cannot be your iPhone.
No. I mean, ideally you want 2 really great top of the line bodies.
Yep.
Of course, when you're starting out, I know that is not always possible, but you definitely want 2 for sure. Okay.
And especially if you are charging standard wedding photography prices and that's what the client's expectation is, it's a non-negotiable at
Yeah.
that point.
Totally.
If you're doing your cousin's wedding for $500, they're gonna live or die by that sword. So, so let's get into essential admin.
So things you need to set yourself up business-wise properly. So you're gonna need a contract. Definitely. You're gonna need a contract. This is going to protect you. It's going to protect your clients, and we'll get more into contracts later. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so this will not be legal advice.
Not legal advice whatsoever. So
you're going to want a way to accept payment.
You're definitely going to want that.
So
it's going to be the only way to keep that business going.
A lot of people will want to pay with their credit card so that they can collect miles for their honeymoon or whatever. So ideally, you'll have a way to collect credit card payments.
And not just run through Zelle the entire time.
So you're going to want a way to deliver the photos when you're done with them. So an online gallery, ideally, and not like a USB or a CD.
Correct.
Something like PicTime or PixieSet. You're going to want to get legally with your state squared away. So that you're going to want like a DBA. Some states require business licenses, sales tax permits. You can register as an LLC or do it as a sole proprietor. So you're going to want to just make sure that
This is also to save your life.
Yes. And I can't really give you specific advice on this one because it's different state by state.
Yep.
So you're going to just need to reach out to probably the SBA, the Small Business Administration, and figure out what you need.
Okay.
And then you're going to want insurance. Insurance is not that expensive, but you're going to want a general liability policy for the reason that a lot of venues will request or require that you have one, usually $1 million policy. And then you're also going to want equipment.
Yes.
A policy for your equipment in case it gets...
And we can say this because somehow we've been robbed twice in our life and replacing
camera gear.
Of just camera gear.
This guy has been robbed.
Oh,
far more.
Don't worry about that.
Far more.
We're not in sketchy neighborhoods either.
No, these are nice areas that we're having our gear stolen.
There's been twice in our lives that our camera equipment has been taken, and likely not to happen, but not to mention dropping lenses, dropping bodies, all sorts of things can go down. I've seen so many cameras and lenses busted up on a wedding day. You're going to need that covered because you're not going to be able to cover it yourself.
Yeah.
So
it gets really expensive.
It gets really expensive.
Okay, and now for the things that you're going to need skills and capacity wise. So you need to be able to work with all types of lighting. You need to be comfortable with dark rooms or really yellow rooms or really, really bright rooms or backlit rooms. You need to have a good understanding of how to work your camera and your photography skills to be able to handle all the lighting situations.
And how drastically it can change, like how quickly it can change.
Yes, you don't have a lot of time in between going from inside to outside to adjust your settings. So you want to be, that's down there lower. Yeah. So we'll skip past down. But you do want the ability to quickly adjust settings as you are moving from location to location.
And honestly, every once in a while you encounter this during a ceremony. I believe one of our last weddings, the sun was coming in heavy from the backlighting area, and it was constantly being changed with clouds and not clouds and jumping back and forth and drastically changing how those photos were coming out.
So if you have not developed the skill of reminding yourself to check your settings in between photos, because what can happen and what happens to a lot of beginners is that they get their settings set and then the lighting changes and they're in the zone and they don't think to go make sure that they are still. And an easy thing to do to fix that is just check your meter in your camera. But I know when things get fast, it can be hard to do that. So anyways, you're going to want to make sure you have the capacity to deliver the photos on time in the promised time or in the time frame that you promise your clients. So if you tell your clients that you're going to have their photos in 4 to 6 weeks, you better have the capacity and the schedule bandwidth to be able to deliver them in that 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And then you're going to want to be able to have the skill of clear communication so that you are clearly expressing to your clients what they can expect. You're going to want to make sure that you have the ability to answer emails or answer your clients quickly so that they're not just left trying to make decisions and they're not hearing from you. So having good communication skills is something you really need to have down before you start photographing weddings.
Yeah, and to go with that communication skills, just knowing how weddings work. So definitely getting started with the second shooting.
Yeah.
Especially if this is like your first time into the wedding industry.
You do not want to make, you don't want your very first wedding that you ever shoot
to be yours.
to be your own. So really, ideally, the very first wedding you ever shoot, ideally will be when you're second shooting.
Absolutely.
So that you know what to expect.
So reach out to photographers in your area. Start second shooting for people. Get that experience. Learn how weddings go. Learn kind of on the job. And need to know what you need to know. So.
Yeah. Okay. That's it for this video.
Yeah.
So coming up next, we're going to just have a short video talking about deciding whether you should be part-time or full-time.
Yeah.
Pretty easy.
So see y'all next time.